All right, so what is up, guys? I am Howie. This is the Go Ride channel. If you haven't figured that out by now, by clicking on it, sorry. Doing something different today. Got some changes. Going to be working on the CRF, the Honda. You've heard about this bike if you watched the introduction video, but you haven't seen it yet. Don't worry, the Ducati's not going anywhere. This bike, which was a Valentine's Day present to my wife, I have committed the cardinal sin of vehicle ownership with this bike, and I've let it sit for almost a year. So the point of today's video is to go through getting it running. It's not going to be a full diesel how-to, but just a couple of hints and tips and a kind of a primer for this bike in the future. So whenever you have a bike that, or any vehicle for that matter, when it's like kind of a ran when parked situation, usually the number one thing you want to do is see if it runs. It doesn't matter if the transmission's broken, if the tires are flat, if it has no brakes, if it doesn't run, it's a non-starter anyway. So we're going to get into it. I'm going to lube the cylinder. I'm going to go ahead and pull the carburetor out and do a quick rebuild on it. And then I'm going to change the battery, which is dead as a doornail. So let's get to it. Lubey lube, but not too much to hydrolock it. One of the other tips that I can give you is whenever you take plastics off a bike, put the bolts back in the same holes, or take a piece of cardboard, draw like an ugly picture of the panel that you're taking off, poke holes in it where all the bolts come out of, and put the bolts back in those holes. It makes it way easier to put the bike back together. To remove the seat on the Honda, you have two bolts, one on either side of the rear fender, and then you just go ahead and push back on it and it unhooks, and then you'll have to walk the front back and down. The reason I'm not going through and doing a full rebuild with like needle and everything is because I just discovered that this bike has a power-up kit in it. So I'm going to go ahead and assume that everything is all right. It's just going to make it a little tougher for me to tune just because I really don't know what I'm doing. But yeah, that's where we're at. I'm going to go ahead and put it back together. occurred to me that some of you may have never seen a battery where you have to actually add the electrolyte yourself. And that's kind of the case for most motorcycle batteries, so I'm just going to go through that. That's the electrolyte. And there's the actual battery. Peel the cap off. Pull the black plastic off of the electrolyte. Don't lose this because you're going to need this in a minute. Don't take the foil off, just push it down and let it drain. Once all the electrolyte's drained, pull it off at an angle and then take the plastic that was covering that and press it onto the fill ports of the battery to seal it. And you're done. So when you go to reinstall the battery is less likely to arc to ground. So connect your positive cable first. This bike was actually missing the battery hold down. So now I've got a new one. Let's see if she cranks. Yep. At this point, I'm going to go ahead and put some fuel in there, and I'm going to run the fuel screw out, the mixture screw out just a hair, just to make sure I can get this thing to start. And if we get it to start, we're going to consider this a victory. And then I will follow up in a subsequent episode with a tune-up, clean the air box, and I'll do a how-to on the valve adjustment. So fuel's in the bike, fuel is on, choke is on, battery's hooked up, so let's see if this thing runs. So, in short of needing a tune-up and adjusting the throttle cables, we're good there. So, coming up, we'll do an oil change, a tune-up. I'll clean the air filter. I'll go through, I'll show you, I'll do an actually detailed how-to on adjusting the valves. And what other future stuff? I think that's going to be about it. So get out there, go ride.